And we are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Forever Rugby. What is going on? Ladies and gentlemen, Jacques Nienaber and his coaching side have made 14 changes to the starting lineup that will take to the park this weekend. 14 changes to the starting 15, just by the way. Not to mention, only 2 players keep their spot on the bench. And only 1 player from last week's starting 15 have dropped into the 20, have dropped onto the bench. This is probably the most inexperienced, most out there, risky selection we have seen in the Springbok side borderline ever. There are a total of 393 caps in the starting lineup, which means, and if you look at that across the park, the average amount of caps per player in the back line is 14. The average amount of players in the forwards is 32. The average amount of caps per player on the bench is 12. 12, ladies and gentlemen. That's how hectically inexperienced we have gone for this weekend. And you know what? I'm in for it. I am 100% in for it. And you know what? I think, and this is going to be quite interesting, this Bok management is consistently under pressure all the time for never giving form players the opportunity, for never giving youth the opportunity, for having players in the squad and never seeing them. Well, guess what? Careful what you wish for, because these players are, and a lot of them are 100% being thrown into the deep end. But the Springboks have decided off the bat, we need to see where we stand as a side. As a result, we need to give players as many opportunities as possible. And the best way to do that is to just let them thrive. Let them thrive, basically. And as a result, this is the side we've landed up with. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. Because I think we've very much gone and said, right, sink or swim, chaps. Which you could argue maybe they're not the right thing to do. But what this selection for me means, and I think what's probably quite exciting, is this is a selection with one thing in mind, and that is Rugby World Cup 2023. This selection is, we are planning for next year. We will have the Rugby Championship coming in, so obviously we do want to do quite well there. And as a result, we are targeting this Welsh series to give everybody a taste, an early opportunity to try and make a difference. And then the Rugby Championship, I don't think we'll see to this extent this kind of rotation, but I do think that we will see a more sort of consistent side. But what they are saying is everyone's going to have an opportunity. Everyone's going to have a go. I mean, I spoke about somebody like Intutuka Mkuna as being a project player, meaning that chances are he won't get a cap this series. But I thought they'll want to work with him for the series and stuff like that. Throughout the rest of the year, and then maybe towards the end of the year play an SAA game or Springbok Select game. By the way, if you haven't seen it, we have announced a very exciting end of year tour, which will have midweek games. We're supposed to be having 3 midweek games at this rate. One of them has already been confirmed as the Bristol Bears, which is quite cool, and we should be confirming some more hopefully in the coming weeks and stuff like that. This has definitely not been the case, because all of a sudden the Springboks are saying Curtly Orense, who I thought again was a project player, Grant Williams, a bit of a project player, go and play. Are you ready? Let's see if you're ready. How much talk has there been? Evan Lewis has to start for the Boks. Guess what? Evan Lewis is starting for the Boks. Warwick Galant has to start for the Boks. I said he has to start for the Boks. Guess what? Warwick Galant is starting for the Boks. Marcel Coetzee has to come back. Guess what? Marcel Coetzee is starting for the Boks. PSF Toy back from injury and starts. It's an incredible side in terms of throwing caution to the wind and saying, let's see it. And I think that the knee-jerk reaction, I think, is going to be interesting because I think that the Welsh fans would probably be quite upset because they'll kind of feel that they're being almost disrespected by the fact that we are not giving them our best team. But in many ways, this is the form team. With the exception of a couple of players, who haven't had too much game time. I think somebody like Andre Pollard, for example, needs to sort of start playing himself into some decent form. But this is very much a side that is on form. So this is what the fans have been asking for, really, hasn't it? Isn't it? This is what we've been saying. Let's put together a side of players on form and see what happens. Let's select on form. And there was so much criticism towards the Bok management last week. And it must have been quite funny for them because they must have sat there thinking, well, just you wait because you have no idea what's coming next week. But this is a team on form. And we're about to see what a team on form can do compared to a team which was a more settled side. And not to say that all of them weren't on form, but players, like a Franco Moss and Alton Yankees who hadn't played rugby in quite a while. And I think that what this does for the Springbok management is it says if some players don't play particularly well and don't look up to the level, then they can take a step back and say, right, well, we gave him an opportunity. He wasn't quite ready. You guys were saying that we weren't giving opportunities. We have done that. And now we can sort of move back towards a more consistent selection. But yeah, let's go through some of the comments, shall we? Louis saying, why is Andre captain if you have Eben? Pollard was always vice captain. Last year he was vice captain. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me actually. I did wonder if look, they could have easily gone with the Eben because he has sometimes been in a leadership group. I thought that Lekanya would actually make this side. Full disclosure, I knew the pack was going to look pretty much like that, and I knew that there were going to be lots of changes in the backline. I didn't think it was going to be this hectic. So I thought that maybe like Lekanya, for example, might be thrown out there, just somebody to add a bit of experience. But Andre Pollard is the vice captain. So although it is his first time captaining the squad. Vic says, amazing squad. I'm excited. So many new caps. Guido says, Evan is so close to 100 caps. Chuck K says, the amount of depth the Springboks have is insane. I'm absolutely loving this team. Alpha Lincoln says, at first I was shocked, but now I'm getting excited for a total experimental team. 100%. Ricardo says, great team. Love this. Sneaker says, the loose trio is so traumatic. Just says, Ori and Weber. Look, I'll hold my hands up. I've never been a particularly big Marvin Ori fan, but he's a very solid player. Nothing particularly special, maybe not very X factor, but he does a lot of things right. And I think that he deserves an opportunity to see if he should be part of that. I would like to see what Ruan Okia does, because I think that he could get him ahead of him in the pecking order. But Marvin Ori is a very, very efficient line-out worker. He's brilliant at the line-out. You can't say he's not. And Joseph Dweber on, second, it's only a second cap. So I think having Marvin Ori, he's so good at line-out time, will be a nice boost there. Chris SW, well, thank you so much for the super chat. Have some beer money for the weekend. Great to see some of the youngsters getting a shot. Thank you. We will make sure that, yes, this weekend the beers will return. The beers will return. Maybe the brandy might even return. I put myself on a week sabbatical. I can't even look at something at the moment. But maybe this weekend we will get back to a couple of bezzers on the stream. So Double says, Andre the Giant. Finally, Leandro Baez says, I'm so excited for this game. I hope this isn't just experience gaining thing. I'd like to see these guys, if guys like Kalant really perform, they will actually mix up the rank order in positions. Jamie says, what do you say to those who say SC are devaluing the series by making so many changes? I do think there is a certain degree of that. But what I was saying, and I was chatting, or I replied to one of the Welsh journalists who's out here. Very well revered, very, very good writer. And he was saying that he wants to see, Wales take on the best Springbok side every time, the best 23. And he said, so that a replacement or experimental side is devaluing the series in inverted commas. However, one thing I will say is that, as I said, people always complain that we don't pick on form. This is a form 15. This is players, Kirtley Orenser, Warwick Galant, Andre Esterhazen, Evan Roos, Marcel Coetzee. I mean, in the side, you've got Andre Esterhazen, who was He's one of the least experienced players in the side. 8 caps, okay? He was in the Premiership team of the season. Some people arguing he should have gotten the Premiership Player of the Year. So he starts. Evan Lewis was the URC Player of the season. He's uncapped, but he starts. Trevor Nyakan's got 54 caps. Evan Etzebeth still got 98 caps. You know, Marvin Ori, Thomas Totoy, they've been in the setup for quite a long time. Marcel Coetzee got 30 caps. He's back, and he's back on form because he's playing some brilliant rugby. Peter Steph Totoy, former World Player of the Years, into the side. Jaden Hendrickson, I think he's somebody who is quite lucky to be there because I don't feel that he's been in the best of forms. But Pollov's a World Cup winner. Jesse Creel's a World Cup winner. Warwick Kalant is a World Cup winner. Curtly Orange and Apple Fassi been in red hot form. So I do think it's a side that are players who are playing very well. So I don't think I think it would be unfair to call this a South Africa A team. I do think the starting 15 at least. You know, on the bench, and even on the bench, you know, players like Intukum Kunu, I think, is probably there quite soon. I do think there are other loose heads who you could have justified having ahead of him. But Malcolm Marx, Vincent Koch are World Cup winners. Damien Willemse was on the back of a terrific performance. Grant Williams has been in red hot form. Dion Fourie has been phenomenal. And Ruan Nokia has been playing some incredible rugby, as has Rand Elstad. So it is a side of players who are playing very well. So I think that I don't think it devalues the series because I think that it is a side of players who all deserve to be Springboks and all who should be part of the Springbok squad. And we always talk about how Springboks have incredible depth. Let's see it. You know, let's see if it does have depth. You know, let's see what we can do. Because maybe we think we're a lot better than we are, and this will actually show that maybe our depth isn't as good, that maybe there is a bit of a drop down. But if we can, I mean, if this, for example, if this team goes and beats Wales on Saturday, how big is that of a statement to the rest of the world saying, listen, we've got 2 teams that you guys need to actually fear. We've got 2 teams that can beat a test side. And I think that it's a very, for me, what makes me so excited about this team is it's a team with so much X factor around the park. You know, Andre Esterhuizen has been running over people for fun. Aprile Fassi, Curtly Orange, Warwick Kalant are exciting players. Players who can create something out of nothing. Evan Lewis is one of those sort of players as well. So it's very much a team not built to play Springbok rugby, if we're being completely honest. It's not a team of players who are phenomenal under the high ball. It is a captain and a fly half who likes to play sort of more of that sort of style, but it's not really a team that is suited towards that. So we actually might see a bit of a different type of tactics this weekend, and that in itself is quite exciting. And even if you look at the bench, you know, Dion Fourie, Grant Williams, Damien Willemse are players who inject quite a lot of pace into the game. I really like Grant Williams. I think he's a live wire scrum half. He likes to play off the cuff, and I think that I'm very excited to see what he can do this weekend. Chris says, I think these youngsters may put some pressure on the old guys. Happy to see how they go, 100%. Josh says, I wanted to make a comment about chemistry problem, but then I remembered last week this can't get any words. Opportunities also players to fill in vacant positions in the squad, 100%. Spencer Swart says, if the Welsh lose, there are going to be a lot of questions. Now, where we are. So Vic says, the better play rugby to complement the squad. Adam says, hopefully the defense and the outside backs can keep the Welsh in check. I've got to say I'm worried about their defense. Howard says they're all there, all the players we wanted to see, 100%. Francois says the squad is something different, but it's a good idea. I don't think Rassie would have done that. It's an interesting point actually, to sort of in terms of I've always found it quite funny how whenever things are going badly, it's Jacques Niaba's fault. Whenever things are going well, it's Rassie Erasmus's fault. And I think we need to start sort of being quite fair that we either put them together and we say that it's a group effort, or else we do need to put it all on Jacques Niaba, who is the head coach. We can't always sort of separate. So I quite like that concept that, you know, I don't know if Rassie is involved. I imagine he is. In theory, he's not supposed to be from a preparation point of view and on the match day. But, you know, they can't stop him and Jacques Niaba having a conversation. JP says, Wales just saying we need a new blood at 11 for speed and better in the air. Excited to see if Rassie converts more of our offensive kicks. Obviously, I called it yesterday. Coetzee in for Mostert. Well, technically, Coetzee is in for Sia. I mean, technically, if we're going to be very technical about it. Clint says Springbok supporters are a fickle bunch. They will love you one week and kick you to the curb next 100%. Should just go straight to All Blacks game. This is a waste of time. We'll have to wait and see, shall we? You think the third test would be a mixture of squads? I do think so. Who would have in place of Intuko currently not in the box camp? From a loose head point of view, I personally think that I do think that Sampiero Mantanzima, for example, I think had a very good season, and I'll put him on the same sort of level, but I'll actually put him ahead. People will just say that it's because I'm a Lions supporter, but I do think Steve Satole has actually had a better season than Intuku Nkunu. Very different type of player, far more of a scrummaging loose head. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I've got a massive issue with him playing there. I think if he hadn't left, I think Dylan Smith would have been pushing quite hard for a spot there. He was playing very well at the Lions. I just think Intuku Nkunu is not ready yet. I think he's an incredibly exciting player with ball in hand. I do worry about his scrummaging ability and his ability in the tight phases of the game. But look, you put a ball in his hand and say, off you go, he's going to go. And he's hard to stop. CPO Ring says, don't think Esterhuizen's block quality is club bully, can't make the step up. I mean, it's a bit harsh when he's only played 8 games and he was one of the best players in the Premiership, which is one of the top leagues in the world. Lungi says, I'm so nervous. Will there be load shedding this weekend? I can't miss this. At the same time, it's going to be nerve-wracking. Devin says, this is the team Alton should play with. You're not wrong, You're not wrong. I think Alton with these guys would have been a very different prospect, especially Alton, maybe like a Grant Williams. But yeah, what can we do? What can we do? Innes says, worried about defense, love Fassi, but his defensive liability, same with Arendse. Granted, haven't watched enough of him. I think Arendse is a better defender than Fassi is. I do think he is. Again, 100%, I do worry about Fassi's defense to a certain degree. I think that's why he has to play on the wing, because his defensively is a little bit suspect at times. So this is a nice opportunity. I mean, he's going to be up against Reece Zammit. So it's a big opportunity for him to try and prove that he is ready for this level. Thank you so much. How's it? The latest member to the Forever Sports Members Clubs. Please do, if you are keen on joining that, go and subscribe to the Members Club. The link is at the top there, and it's a very nice. It's just something small to help the channel ticking over. So really appreciate all the support there. Daniel says Alton Yankees would have fitted this kind of team better than last week. Hopefully they're given the freedom to run. We are still missing a standout fly-off, says Randolph. Just Servers reckoning Wales 40, box 20. Ed says Arendse is rock solid in the air and tackles, had a stellar season at 15 with the Bulls, not just attacking but reading defenders, shutting down passing lanes and one-on-one tackles. And Keenan says, this seems like a full attacking team. Our second team on Saturday was also a full attacking team. Only worried about defense, so I think this could be a high-scoring game. I tend to agree, actually. Alexander says, it's good to see the depth of our Springbok team. It's also well-deserved start for great players. Tapang says, this is how you build depth. Zach says, I would have played Murat instead of Ori. Different type of players. But I can understand why I would have maybe gone with Murat on the bench and started Ruben Nokia. But again, you're talking about very little experience there. Thoughts on Ruiz? I mean, I think we all know that he's been waiting, that he deserves to be playing. But I think that this is a team that's going to suit Evan Ruiz, and I think that and I'm glad that they've done it that way, because I think that the biggest thing, and people used to call me out and say that I was a Ruiz hater, and I always said I don't have an issue with Ruiz at all. My issue is whether he can fit into the Springbok mold, into the Springbok setup, because he's a very different type of player. And I think that this team will allow him to be his normal self. And his normal self is a hell of a thing to try and contain. But I do think, that Peter Steph, and Marcel Coetzee, who will do a lot of the grunt work, will allow him to occupy far more attacking space, positions where he's got more space. And he's so quick off the mark. His acceleration is second to none, really, in terms of loose forwards in the country. And that's what makes him so deadly, because first of all, he's a unit that stands at 1.9 meters and 110 kgs basically, but he's quick off the mark. And I think that this is a team that will allow him to be in positions where he is very competent. Tim van den Berg says Evans' retention shows how invaluable he is to the box. Really shows that the box don't have another world-class front jumper. We've just got a bunch of fives, don't we? Really, if we look at it, because Ruan Nokia is a five, Franco Moss is a five, Luat Dialga is a five. So I mean, I understand exactly what you mean, and it is a bit of a problem. I do think that's why Marvin Ory's in the side, though. I think that lineout wise, that's what he is there for. I think Marvin Ory is nothing. As I said, I don't think he's a hell of a special player from an X Factor point of view. He's not in the same class as Franco Mossa, Luat Dialga, Ebenezer. We know this. So I can understand that given that you need somebody who's very solid. Vic saying Steve Totoli is old. He's 29. Dion Farie's making his debut at 35. What's wrong with being called up at 29? I think the man could do a job. But a couple other ones. A great coach would implement the structures for Ruus to thrive. To be honest, I understand what you mean. But we don't. I mean, what if you should change the entire structures to make sure that Ruus is going to be good, and then Ruus gets injured, for example? So you don't want to adapt an entire system around one player. You can adapt a system around a bunch of players, but not really one player. So I think that more it's a case of Ruus needs to understand and find a way to bring his game plan and his style into a box setup and make it work. That's how the best players can do it. And it takes a while. Quacker Smith, for example, took quite a while to understand how he can translate his skills into a box environment. It did take him a while, but he did it. And I think that's what Ruus needs to do. I think that he's a very young player, he's got a lot to learn, and you don't want to coach him out of what the stuff he does best, but you do need to then say, right, this is where you can bring that side of your game, but this is where you need to be maybe a bit more solid or a bit more tight, and it's that sort of development that is so important moving into next year. Zach says, I have a feeling that Ruus is going to play like Vermeulen. I wouldn't say like Vermeulen. I think he's very different to Vermeulen. Vermeulen's he's so good at the breakdown. He's so good under the high ball. Very good line out option. He's a forward. Dwayne Vermeulen is just a massive, powerful forward. Evan Ruus is a bit like taking a center and putting him at eighth man. Somebody says PSP. A bit more like that, I suppose. Just hard running, a bit more like a Jasper Wiese in many ways. Although Jasper Wiese is a tighter player, but in terms of the ball carrying ability being their number one, whereas I think Dwayne Vermeulen is so much more than a ball carrier. Bitcoin says we should never have let Willemse escape to France. Imagine him with Eben. That's power. I don't miss it. I don't lose any sleep whatsoever by not having Paul Willemse on the side. I'm very happy with our locks. I would say that this team beats Wales by a long way. It will create more questions than answers for the coach. Ruus the same size as the new All Blacks winger, but so much faster. Should put him on the wing. No, let's not put him on the wing. We're not the All Blacks. Well, they might just change the game plan to suit Evan Ruus and the other attacking players. TJ says, I'd be scared to play against our loose forward trio, even when Dion and Reno comes on. Physical madness. Big shout out to Fair Sports doing what you'll do. Thank you very much. Brian says, why is number one team at the moment playing number 9? Should be against France. I mean, you don't do tours based on world rankings. And what we saw on Saturday, I don't think we were in the position to really get picky about our opposition, because they did stretch us for the full 80 minutes and made us nip a little bit. So, but I think it's going to be interesting to see how we play in terms of the way we approach this game, because I think that we will see a lot of kicking from 9 and 10. Put it this way, we're not suddenly going to turn into France, and we're going to throw around the ball. So What was I doing? There's something I was doing, and that was downloading this video. That's what I was doing. Just trying to export a video, which is going to go up in Forever Rugby, which is going to show you all the heights, weights, caps, blood types of all the players. Be quite cool. So actually, so Kwako Jasper should be on the bench. For the EB, I'm assuming you mean the All Blacks. I don't know if you or what you meant there. Tian says, I'm very hesitant to see a side without Billy in it. He really signs the headers last week and showed how class he is when it comes to organising the block attack. 100%. I also feel, though, that Dave Williamson did take a step forward in his career. And I suppose if we are going to learn to have life without Billy, this could be the start of it. I don't think life without Billy in terms of a squad environment, maybe within the team announcement environment, this would be a nice way of doing it. Do you think there are any Wales players which could make the SA starting lineup? Controversial. I think Dan Bigger would have a lot to say. I said the other day, I think if Dan Bigger was South African, I think he would play 50 tests for South Africa. I think he very much suits our mold. Any other Welsh players that would make the team on current form? I mean, Liam Williams wouldn't look out of place in the side. Faletau would obviously look very much in place. There are quite a few injuries, for example, like Justin Tipuric. If you had like him and PSF Toy, it would be disgusting if they played together. I don't think front rows, or I don't think anybody in the tight five really makes it. I think Kieran Hardy played quite nicely. I don't think he'd necessarily make the final team, but I think he's a good player. George North probably has quite a lot to say. Not the George North at the moment, but the George North when he's one of the best players in the world. Difficult because I think a lot of the best Welsh players aren't in particularly good form at the moment. So it's difficult to sort of then say that they should be in. And a lot of the youngsters, we don't quite know whether they're going to be top or not. I mean, for example, the way that Will Rowlands played on Saturday, I would have had him in my team. But I also think that Tommy Rafael, the way he played on Saturday, means that he was somebody I would look at who could make a box squad. Vic says they should kick a fastest contention the box kicks, otherwise run with the ball. We need space to brain back as attack coaches to fight as well. Brian says 1998 SA team beat Wales 9-6-13. I don't think Wales improved since then. No more living in fear says we've never seen these guys play together as Boca. How are people already calling scores? How good is this team to the one that played on Saturday? Very, very different, to be fair. Completely different. I mean, it's 14 changes. I would say this is a team on form who have not played a lot of Springbok rugby, so I think it's difficult to make that call. I think there are certainly a lot of players here. Players here who I think could force their way into a final 23 are PSF Toys in the final 23 anyway. I think Trevor, and I'm very interested in the fact that they've gone with Thomas du Toit at loose head and Trevor at tight head. I would have actually liked to have seen Trevor at loose head, potentially. And Thomas at tight head, because I think Trevor should be in the final 23. But I understand how attached they are to Frans Malherbe and Vincent Koch. So maybe and then it's quite harsh on Oxenchair, but I think that Trevor could very much warrant starting at one. So that for me, that's a very interesting selection and one that I wouldn't have made. I would have swapped them. I would have had Trevor at one and Thomas du Toit at three. I think Marcel Coetzee could maybe find his way onto the bench. If we go with the 6-2 split, because I mean your 6-2 split, you're looking at, so you got three forwards. Kwaka Smith is one of them. After that, are we talking about Jasper Wiese? Are we talking about an Albert Lowe, Evan Roos? I think there's more. I think for me, positions on the bench that are more up to play for the starting lineup. I think Gelant could really be pushing to be in the 23, but he would have to be a starter. Apart from that, I don't think Esther Hazen is going to get ahead of Delendi. I don't think Creel's going to get ahead of I think Fussie's got a big opportunity this weekend. I'll tell you why, because I thought that I think Mapimpi looked a little bit tired last weekend. he just looked a little bit out of it, and it's harsh because he's come off a good season, and you're not going to drop Mapimpi at this rate. But I do think that he is not playing on Saturday. He didn't do anything really, so he's a position where people could put a little pressure on. But apart from that, I think that's really it. I don't think Jaden Hendricks is dislodging Faf. I don't think Arendse is going to. I mean, he's not going to dislodge Colby. So I don't think there are too many players here who could really force their way into the lineup. Just Webb would have to have an absolute ridiculous game if you were to bench, or not. Well, you wouldn't bench if you were to force Bongi out to 23. Malcolm Marx is very settled in that 16 jersey. Again, I think Ariel Nokia, I think, is a very nice player. I don't think he's going to get ahead of Etzebeth, Lua Diago, and Franco Mostert. Much the same with Reynard Ulster and Dion Free. I think they're good squad players. I just don't think that they're better than our best options. Keenest, I don't think Jesse Creel should be there. I would much rather have Rohan Janssen from Rensburg next to Estes, and I also think they should have Chris Smith in the camp case of injury. Well, Rohan Janssen from Rensburg is an inside centre, so it would more be there a lot. I mean, he has played occasionally at outside centre, but he's an inside centre really. So I don't think it will be as simple as that. Pure Vases SA lack depth at 13. Where does George Whitehead fit into all of this? Why would George Whitehead fit into all of this? Did anybody mention George Whitehead? Did I miss something? But Chris says it's harsh when you don't create Oshiba Pippi. 100%. That's why I said it's difficult to slam the guy because he didn't have. Sorry, I'm just trying to see somebody. So Stalls here says I'm not a big fan of Galant and Ori, and then he says I'm a Stormers fan. How can you be a Stormers fan and not be a fan of Galant? I would be in tears as a Stormers fan after watching a season knowing that he's leaving. When will the press conference come out? I don't know. We're going to try and get the press conference out. Yeah, it's difficult because unfortunately it is in Bloemfontein, and we can't. I mean, I don't live in Bloemfontein, so it's difficult for me to get there. So I'm going to try and get this press conferences. I'm hopefully going to be at the I'm hopefully going to be at the Wales one on Thursday, but yeah, I don't know if we're going to be able to get the box. We just can't afford, unfortunately, to go through to Bloem. And I don't know what I'm going to do about Cape Town next week. If there's a sponsor that wants to sponsor me some plane tickets to get down to Cape Town, then we can try and get into Cape Town next week. I really want to get all into the press conferences. At this stage, I'm already looking at what we're going to do with the All Blacks when they're down here. We need to try and get to Mbombela for a week. But I don't know how we're going to do it. So that's why we're trying to find some sponsor stuff, I guess, to try and help us get around the country so we can do that. But we'll see what we can do. We're going to see what we can do. Adam says, if we have 6 Khaleesi, 7 Toy, 8 Firmino starting back row for the World Cup with a 6-2 split in the bench, the back rows, do you put on the bench Low, Ruiz, or Ruiz Coetzee, or Visa, Low, or other? Controversially, I would probably go with, obviously, a lock. Who it will be, I don't know, because also we've got Arceus Neyman coming back. Remembering that we used to actually have 2 locks on the bench because they were so good. But I would go, for me, Kwaka Smith has to be in that 23. So for me, it then goes to probably a Low or a Coetzee, which is controversial. But I think versatility has always been key. And in many ways, I think Ulrich Low could actually get himself into that final 23 because he's somebody who can play across the back 3, so can Coetzee. But I think that Ulrich Low could probably play at lock if he had to. So I think that his versatility makes him very, very desirable. Unfortunately for Ruiz, he plays number 8 and number 8 alone, much the same as Jasper Wiese. Jacques says, great to see a formed team. Can't wait for Saturday. Pino says Dwayne, Villy, JC past their best. I mean, JC's like 28 years old, so I wouldn't say he's past his best. I just don't think he's had a lot of rugby at the highest level. JC Creel needs to come play in South Africa at the end of the day. Double says Cornel Hendricks in the 45-man squad. No, he's not. Columbusburg class. We will miss him at the Stormers next season for sure. Rudolph says, sorry, I'm late to the stream. We'll watch again. Anyhow, I think it's a great team and a great move. Yeah, I think it's quite. I'm very excited by this team. Put it that way. Keenan says, what do you think of our Fly situation? I understand you're going with experience, but what is your take? I think that if Jordan Hendricks was 3 years old, I think he'd be in the squad. I think that he is the next best. He's the next best fly half for me in terms of somebody we can actually go and trust in it has everything on paper. Whether he is ready yet, I don't know. I think he is. I think he looks very comfortable at this level. And unfortunately, I think that we've got fly halves who are very hot and cold. Marnie Liebach had a stormy season, no doubt, but he does sometimes struggle with consistency and plays a very different type of brand of rugby to what the Boks do. And whether he can convert, himself into what the Boks need within a year, it remains to be seen. Chris Smith is far more within the Boks setup mold. Again, very inconsistent. And Curran Bosch, again, very inconsistent. So I think that's the problem. Robert says, watch the space. Khaleesi and Lewis are similar players when they play out wide in the backline attack. They can't play Khaleesi and Lewis in the same starting lineup when Khaleesi retires or plays. Well, Khaleesi did a lot of the grunt work as well. So I think we also need to remember how much value he brings at his breakdown work is second to none. And you look at that Lions series, and I think that was something which went under the radar a little bit, is how good he is at the breakdown. Both defensive rucks, attacking rucks, putting a lot of the hard yards. I'd like to see him more on ball than him, but that's not really as well with the Springboks. Josh says, so now that Lewis and Damien are going to Japan, wonder who's the marquee player joining the Stormers. The rumors is that he wears a scrum cap and the number 14. Farid says, this is so typical of the brilliance of Rassie. All these guys are relatively fresh and Wales will be hurting from last game. Predictable out for the Bulls. Technically, it's brilliance from Jacques Nielbar. He is the head coach at this stage. Robert says, I've lost him now. He can't start. They will begin to start more often, but it's part of the balance of the loose trio. You can't have too many fetches or ball carriers or work rate guys in the same trio. Yeah, it's all about balance, isn't it? Archie is currently training with the Boks. He is indeed. He's been in the Boks training squad, but he's not actually part of the 42. But he is doing his rehab and stuff with them. So K Volta's up there as far off down the line. Yeah, if you can stay fit and get going. Peter from Vegas says, Van Veek at the Lions and de Klerk at the Pumas are future 13s. I'm very excited to see what Henk could make Veek do. And also, I'm excited to see what Similani can do with a bit of game time and maybe a game plan which will suit him a bit more at the Bulls, which I never thought I'd be saying. Musa Boss says, geez, total different team as last week. Excited for Arendse. Would have been great to have Moody here. He is in the mold of Jay Peterson. Moody will come post the World Cup. Tians, I know you don't rate Chris Smith quite yet, but I feel that a very consistent season. His place kicking and goal kicking are unrivaled in SA. A few more seasons of URC is shooing. No, I think Chris Smith on song is definitely Bok material. And I think we started to see more of if we can see more we saw towards the end of the season in the next 2 seasons, then I think that I think we could be looking at Chris. I mean, well, how old is Chris Smith? I don't think he's that old. We could be seeing, Chris Smith, Pollard, and maybe Hendricks as your sort of future fly half options. He's 27 years old, so he's not very old. 28 in September, so he's actually the same age as Pollard. I think Jordan Hendricks is the future number 10. I think 2027 will be Jordan Hendricks. He looks like such a special player. If Wales lose no World Cup, Pivac, I think he'll stay. We are looking at Hendricks for future. Will anyone look at Buddha Chamberlain if the Sharks have enough of Bosch? Well, that's the thing. If Chamberlain can lock down that number 10, then you can start talking about the Springbok 10. But no, I like Buddha Chamberlain. Again, I think consistency is something he needs to bring to his game a little bit. But that's always sort of the standard issue with players. Prior to England before the World Cup, yeah. So I think his season in the Premiership is going to do him well. We'll be streaming for the under 20 game. I hope so. I want to do the under 20 game today. I am, however, moving. I'm house sitting. So my entire setup needs to be put into a car and driven to the other side. So I've got a couple of hours to do this. So if I can get myself set up, then we're going to try and do that in 20s game. I haven't watched any of that in 20 game because it's been so busy lately. So it would be nice to watch it. Ed says, I'd argue Chris Smith was incredibly consistent in what he gave in his performances. Where that's enough to get in as another question. Zach says, I would let Herschel play 9 and have Hendricks on the bench. Is Cheslin Colby going back to the Stormers? I didn't say it, but I'm hearing rumours. I predict that the last test will be the strongest possible selection. Wales have enough intel on the players. They're going to be lost. That's an interesting point as well. Morley van den Berg scrum off next to Hendricks when Faf retires. Good old Mornay versus France. What time? It starts at 5 o'clock, the under-20 game, officially this afternoon. So yeah, that's so hopefully we will be live for it. So just monitor the channel and see if we do manage to get myself sorted in time, then we will obviously try and do it later. People, we're gonna wrap it up there. It's been a really cool live show. Actually, I've really enjoyed this one. Now, I think probably the fact that we've got such a cool team does definitely help that. Yeah, please do smash a like on the video. Where we sitting with our subscribers? Because I thought we were going to get to 13,000 last weekend, and we didn't, which is a bit sad. So please do continue to subscribe. Forever Rugby as well. We want to try and get that up to 1,000 subscribers. So I'm going to drop the Forever Rugby link in here as well, which is our secondary channel where we can upload clips and stuff like that. Here it is. So we used to have a Forever Rugby channel, used to do very well actually, and then we converted it for strategic reasons. So there's the Forever Rugby channel there. You can go and subscribe to that. But yeah, please do subscribe to this channel as well. And then we will go and do the things. 12,506 subscribers. So if we can get another 500 before the weekend, I'll be quite chuffed. Until then, keep very well. We will be live tomorrow, probably night. I don't think we'll be able to do a lunchtime show tomorrow, but we will be live tomorrow night, hopefully. We will then have a lunchtime show on Thursday. We will have a lunchtime show on Friday. We will then be live. We've got a lot of build-up being planned for Saturday afternoon, which should be a lot of fun. So make sure you come and join us then. Apart from that, keep well, keep safe. Check you guys all very soon.